A lot of people just hear the word invest, and that's when people say I'm an investor, that's very broad. What specifically are you investing in? And so that's very important in terms of doing a deep dive and understanding what are you getting yourself into, because you want to become knowledgeable as possible about those things. A lot of people just think that they can just listen to what other people have to say and just go away and don't have to ever come back to it.
For a few years, and then you'll understand.
You showing them that Bitcoin and that Tesla and all
Yeah.
that?
Yep. I show them everything.
Man, are you still running options?
Yeah, I am. To me, that's like my weekly dividends, right? So like selling calls, selling puts, like every single week or every other week if it don't get filled, it's just like 150 to $200 every single time. So I end up taking the money from there and then, buying more shares, and then I can make more money the next time.
Man, I need to learn options, man. Right now, I'm just doing the traditional buy and hold.
Yeah,
But
I got you.
yeah, options can be used to. Options can be used also to, like, kind of protect your account. If you think there's like a downturn in the market, you can. People do that in terms of hedging. By selling puts and stuff like that. Like they'll do like S&P 500 contracts, or NASDAQ contracts, stuff like that. So it's definitely can be used in terms of strategy. So that's why I say I need to kind of look into options as well. But today we got an interesting topic. We're going to be talking about how to get ahead in 2022 today. I'm going to be talking about some things that you all can do in terms of being intentional with your finances to make sure you're coming out on top at the end of 2022. So the first thing I want to talk about is budgeting. Budgeting is very important. I kind of remember, growing up, my grandma would be like, when my aunt May used to get paid, my grandma would be like, May, why are you going down there to 𝗬𝗏 spending all your money when she first got paid? And it's crazy how when people get, they get the checks, they already start blowing their money. But one thing that I find interesting about budgeting is that a lot of people are willing to actually, give out advice to other people when it comes to budgeting. But when it's time to budget for yourself, that's when you tend to look the other direction. It can be very uncomfortable for people in terms of talking about a budget, their own budget with their own finances. And so that's one thing that we're going to have to do in 2022 in order to get ahead, is actually take a look and see where our money is going. And there's many different apps that talks about budgeting, that can not talks about that can help you with budgeting. Actually, you have Mint, YNAB, you need a budget, or you can also track your expenses on Excel, right? And so it's very important to get down to the root cause of where all your money is going, because by doing that, you can understand what you need to be doing, such as maybe going to pick up another side hustle or cutting back on some expenses, because that's pretty much all you can pretty much do with the budget. Either you're going to cut down expenses or you're going to get your income up. You pretty much can only do those two things. And so there was something in this article that I kind of found interesting too, that I think a lot of people tend to overlook, when it comes to budgeting. In the article, it talks about actually taking a look at your credit card statements and how these companies will break down how much you spend in each category. You talk about companies like JP Chase. I have a Chase Sapphire card. And one thing that the Chase Sapphire card does is it has categories that show you how much money you spend every year, or you can look at it on a monthly basis, and it can show you, where's all your money going. So you can kind of have an idea when you're laying out a budget. But I don't want to get too much into that, because Shawn, you're going to be cooking in a couple of weeks when we talk about budgeting on the channel. Did you have anything you want to say?
It's funny that we're talking about budgeting tonight, because I don't know if I told you, but after school on Wednesdays, I have a club called Wealthy Wednesday. And
Oh,
today we were talking about budgeting. So like I put a little YouTube video on about budgeting. And I even shared the expenses, that I had, and I was going through telling the kids, why I put a certain part of my money into certain parts of my budget, and just being super transparent with them. But it's like, oftentimes when I talk to my friends about budgeting, or like, a random person about budgeting, a lot of times people don't budget. And like you said, it's like you feel like you're telling yourself no. You fear that, you realize how much you owe in debts and whatnot. But like, I feel like, me personally, following a budget is actually like setting myself for freedom later, But like you said, I get into the budgeting in a future episode.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say this, and to wrap that up, people do just pay things just to pay them off, and that's kind of not the best way to go about it, because at the end of the day, you still don't know where your money's going. You're just paying the bill just because. And you may be missing out on, you can be missing out on a lot of things if you're just doing that. You may be getting overcharged, such like that, things like that too. But it's very important to make sure you understand where your money's going. Just how you account for your time every day, 24 hours, by using Google Calendar or whatever you may use. You need to make sure you're accounting for where your money is going. But we're gonna let you cook on that in a couple of weeks. We don't want to get too deep into that. So another topic that we have here that we can talk about in terms of how to get ahead in 2022 is paying off debt. Debt is the killer to all wealth, pretty much. And a lot of people, it's hard for a lot of people to get ahead because a lot of people actually have a lot of student loans. They have a lot of student loans, and then they have a lot of, auto loans as well. And then people have, consumer debt as well. So it's very important to make sure that you're paying off your debt in order to get ahead, because a lot of people don't understand that, once you get out of school or whatever, these loan companies, you can do payments where they take it based off your pay. And if you're having to, if you're having to pay these companies an X amount of so much money of your paycheck, that money can be used to go to other things that can definitely help you down the road, such as investments, such as start contributing to your 401k, opening up a Roth IRA or HSA. You're taking away money from doing that, because you're actually tied up in paying all these people. And so, you want to make sure you're looking at things from a banker mindset instead of a consumer, because, all your money is going towards the lender. And so you'll never get ahead because you're running in a rat race where you're constantly having to go, work, X amount of hours and all your money's going over here when you could be taking care of business, working those hours and deploying that capital and having those little dollars work for you. Do you have anything you want to add on that, Shawn?
Yeah, a lot of times when you have debt, you often look at the amount that you pay like every month, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it might be like, oh, well, this is only, $30 a month, and this one is only $100 a month, and only $200 a month. But oftentimes you're not thinking about the interest, right? And the interest is just going in somebody else's pocket. Like, part of your payment goes to your principal to pay off your debt, but the other part of your payment goes into the interest, which is somebody else's pocket. So as long as you have debt, you're putting money in somebody else's pocket. And once I realized that, I was like, yo, like, if I pay off my debt, I'm basically giving myself a raise, because the money that was going to somebody else's pocket is now staying in mine. And then I can use that money to invest in stocks. And now you're able to invest and outplace inflation, if you picking the right investments. So that's pretty much all I got about to say about the debt. You already know. Shout out to Dave Ramsey.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Dave Ramsey. Make sure y'all follow them baby steps. But yeah, man, that debt is the killer of all dreams, man. And I think this number may have changed, but the last time I did my research, the average amount of loans taken out was about $29,900 or something like that. So almost $30,000. And so, college is very expensive, and a lot of people aren't really taking that into consideration, when they're going to go to these schools and pick certain fields to go into. You're going to have to understand, if you're looking to do X amount of things down the road and you want X amount of dollars, that retirement number is different for everybody. But, some people may have dug themselves into a hole where it looks like they're not going to be able to get out of debt until about 15 to 20 years plus. I know people that's in the family that's still paying on student loans, and they've been out of college since about, I think it was about early 2000s. So we're talking about 22, going on 22 years now. And so that's why it's very important that people remain intentional. When you think about things, look at things from a long-term perspective. Even if you have to go to community college, or, you may have to go out and go pick up 2 or 3 more jobs, Uber Eats, or FedEx, a seasonal package handler. You got to do whatever you got to do to pay this debt off. Because if you don't pay this debt off, it's going to be rough for you to build wealth. And then a lot of people don't look at either is that, it's how we talk about compound interest is debt going to start compounding, because, we talk about compound interest in our favor in terms of the S&P 500 or Apple or Microsoft delivering 1,000% return over, the last 10 years or so, 5 to 10 years or so. We talk about that, the good side, but the bad side is you start getting compound interest on the amount of money that you owe lenders, right? And so then you try to go out and go get a car, and then you try to go out and get a house. And so what you have done was you've digged a hole for yourself. It's become a nightmare. As Dave Ramsey would say, buying a house should be a blessing, not a curse. And so that kind of ties into this debt. When you owe everybody, it's very tough, and it restricts the options that you have. And so it's very important to make sure that you're being intentional and paying off that debt quick as possible. And so another thing that people can do in 2022 to get ahead is start acquiring assets. When you start acquiring assets, you want to make sure that you're knowledgeable about what you're getting yourself into, because there's a lot of assets. You have real estate, like we talked about last night with Tim. You have real estate. Some people niche is real estate, and then you have the stock market, and then some people will go collect art and stuff like that. But in order for you to get ahead, you got to start building up your assets and start lowering your liabilities, because wealth is defined by, that's how wealth is defined by assets. So you want to make sure that you're doing those things. And one way to start doing that is to start by investing. You can start doing this through your job. Your job will offer a 401k, where you can put in certain money and the employers will match it. Where you can just invest in like a S&P 500 fund, and make sure you're investing in bonds as well, however you want to do it, but that's one way you can definitely start by acquiring assets, is by making sure you're taking care of business at the job, investing in your 401k.
Yeah, when it comes to acquiring assets, I think that's the most fun thing about building wealth, because that's when you start really keeping track. Like when you're living paycheck to paycheck and you got debt, you're probably not focused on your net worth, right? You're
Right.
probably thinking, oh, I need to make some more money, I'll be straight. But when you start creating that budget, when you start paying off that debt and start acquiring assets, that's when you start paying attention to your net worth. And like me personally, I look at my Mint account like every single day just to see the trajectory of my investments. Like I just hit a matter of fact, I just hit a milestone. What, today? I hit a milestone, right, of a new net worth. I'm not 6 figures yet, but I'm
Congratulations,
almost
man.
there. I'm almost there, and I've only been doing this for what, like 2 years, like
Oh,
really keeping track, almost at 6
okay.
figures, right? So yeah, just buy some stocks, bonds, crypto, land, rental properties, metals, whatever you think of. Just start acquiring it. Put it in your bag, and that's all I got.
But make sure that you actually, taking the time to to do a deep dive into understanding, what you're looking to buy though. I must add that. And because that's very important. A lot of people just hear the word invest and, that's, when people say I'm an investor, that's very broad. What specifically are you investing in? And so that's very important in terms of doing a deep dive and understanding what are you getting yourself into, because you want to become knowledgeable as possible about those things. A lot of people just think that they can just, listen to what other people have to say and just go away and don't have to ever come back to it. Peter Lynch talks about, you have people that are willing to pour half of their annual, their lifetime savings, into some stock. And when it goes to zero, they lose all their money because they just heard that somebody else was talking about it, or somebody else said, you need to be doing such and such and such. And they didn't do their own research, or they didn't reach out to a financial advisor or, some other professional in the financial services before doing those things. So it's very important that you are looking and paying attention to understand, hey, this is what I'm getting into. I know the risk, but, after doing my analysis, what is it going to be the opportunity cost and running all those things, if you, proceed to go forward, that's on you. But it's very important to look into those things. And another thing I wanted to add with assets, why assets is so important. Once again, we're not financial advisors. Please consult with your local financial advisor, your local accountant. We're just on here having a conversation about finances. One thing I want to talk about too, Shawn, is that a lot of people don't understand the power of having assets. Whereas you may start out with just investing in stocks, and then you may build up your net worth off of stocks, and you may have a certain amount of money in stocks. You can actually take that money and then go into real estate, use your stock, cash out your stocks, and take that capital and actually go in and buy properties. A lot of people don't understand that. And then you can take, once you have done that, you can take, your property starts building more equity, and then you can use that equity, pull the equity out of that property, and then go in and buy another property. And then, if you don't ever want to be taxed, once again, not a financial advisor, people need to tap in, need to look into something called a 1031 exchange and so forth. So all these different things are very powerful, but you must know what you're getting yourself into. And that's the power of having assets, because you can trade in one for the other, and you can ultimately just keep building your net worth that way. But you got to start from somewhere, but you must be intentional. Like I said, you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to get down and do a budget. You're going to have to understand where your money's going. A lot of people don't want to have these talks, but it's imperative that you do, because that's the only way you can get ahead. That's just like when people go work out in the gym, right? People want to get big, they want to get big, but you got to look at yourself and see, what are you eating? Are you eating the right foods that's going to help you get those outcomes? And that's what we talk about on this channel, outcomes. So in order for you to get those outcomes in terms of winning financially, in 2022, starting rather, you're gonna have to do a self-assessment. You're gonna have to look at your budget, understand, where's your money going? Take a look at your debt. Do you have any debt? Are you in student loan debt? Maybe you need to stop. Maybe you need to stop going downtown every weekend. You maybe have to go pick up another job. We saw that with our fellow member Tommy. How Tommy talked on one of his streams, how he was, was moving and picking up different jobs and doing the work. Maybe you have to delay, you got to delay that gratification. We want to win now. People want to go party now. Maybe you have to take a step back. But in order for you to get the outcomes and win in 2022, it's going to be on you to make those changes and understand that what you're doing today, you'll thank yourself tomorrow. And in order to win in 2022, make sure you got a budget. Make sure you paying off your debt. Debt is the killer of all dreams. Pay off your student loans, pay off your credit cards, get that auto loan down, double up on payments if you can, and then start acquiring assets. And once you do those things, you'll win in 2022. Is there anything you wanted to add before we end the show?
Thinking about everything that we just talked about, creating a budget, eliminating debt, and acquiring assets, I just wanted to recommend 2 books for the listeners. So obviously, y'all already know when it comes to paying off debt, Money Master. I'm sorry, not Money Master the Game. That's a good book. Total Money Makeover, right? Total Money Makeover is the first book that I recommend. The second recommendation will be I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Remit. And both of those books, like if you read both of those, it talks about everything that we just said.
Okay. Yeah, I heard of that one. I heard of that one. And y'all haven't did a video about that one yet, right? Because I know I saw on the channel y'all was talking about the Millionaire Next Door, Thomas Stanley. So that's definitely a great book too. Yeah, Dave Ramsey gets you right. And I also should add this one too. Another good one is called Tony Robbins, Money Master the Game. That's a good one in terms of understanding, about investments and how to take control of your finances. So I just wanted to add that in there. But anything else?
No, that's it. That's all I got for the listeners.
All right. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all being intentional. Don't be out here fumbling the bag. Remember, pay off your debt, get a budget, and start acquiring assets. I'm Trey.
I'm Shawn.
Thanks for tuning in.